Hey guys, thanks for waiting. Okay, so let's get this started. I haven't done any betting in a while, so this should be interesting. Let me just get everything set up, share my screen. So yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna like take you on like a live betting session, see if we can find some value bets using Pod. Get the chat and pop out. Duh, 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 duh. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Yes, to the entire screen. Okay, so see if I can get rid of this inception. Okay, cool. So usually I have like pods on the left-hand side and there's like mobile UI here, and then I have my bookmakers on the right-hand side. So let's see if I can just get the split screen quick. Okay, cool. All right, so we have under 2.5 here. So yeah, if the under 2.5 line has value on it as well. 1.9. I'm getting 2. Okay, that has been suspended. Just got limits on that account. Brilliant. All right, let's just confirm that account is actually suspended. I mean, it looks like it. Try another bet. Just gonna whack the min drop percentage up on some of these filters because I'm getting lots of alerts coming through and it's a bit overwhelming. I would be surprised if they don't have that game. No, so they don't. Do not want to do that. going to place that bet because that is obviously value. Pinnacle aren't quoting under 145.5, but the under 145 is 1.766 Novig price, and we're getting 1.95 on the under 145, and that's 1.5. Yeah, 1.5.5. So for me, that's value, even though the odds did just increase there. I'm fine with that bet. Yeah, so you just put in the chat, I don't understand. So pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm just waiting for my odds to come through, and then I'm looking for the market that's been alerted for where the odds have dropped. And then I'm going to go and try and find that market on my sports book, like Betfair or Midnight. And what I want to do is I want to find the market and just beat the Novig price. So for example, here, the Novig price is 1.434. If I got odds of 1.5 or 1.6, then I would place that bet. So let's see if we can find a bet here. So I'm just copying and then pasting over. So yeah, that's the event I'm looking for. The spread is -1. The Novig price is 2.4, and it's on the away team. So they don't have that market. So I would just move on to the next book and try and find the same. So the Asian handicap, I'm looking at the away team -1. So they have -1.5. So what I would do here is I would click into the alert and I would try and find the -1.5. So away -1.5, 3.38. I'm getting 3.6, right? And then just double check it's the right market. Yes. And then I'll go ahead and I'll place that bet. And what I would do after I place that bet, or what I'm doing is I'm logging it in pod. So this is just like tracking the bet so I can see whether it won, lost, how much money I made, etc. So I know I got odds of 3.6. So I can see the EV there is pretty huge. And then I staked 20. And I'm just going to tag it with the bookmaker that I placed the bet on, so Midnight. And then log that bet. So that's a pretty huge EV play. See if we can find another one. But yeah, it takes a little while to get used to like the whole strategy and using the software and finding the bets and stuff. And like definitely when you're first doing it, you'll be a bit slow. I haven't been betting for a long time, so I'm pretty rusty, as you can probably tell. This search bar is pretty weird. Okay, so they don't have that event. But it looks like they do. Yeah, under 19. So look here. So the competition has under 19 in, but on Pinnacle, the under 19 isn't in the team names, whereas on Betfair, under 19 is in the team names. So sometimes you just have to look at the competition name on Pinnacle to try and match up the event. But here I'm looking at the home team. I'm looking at Novig price of 3.834. So look, I'm not getting any value there. So I wouldn't place that bet. Even though this is like a 90-minute guarantee market. So these odds are a little bit better than they look. Because if your team is winning at 90 minutes, then your bet is going to win regardless of the result after the extra time. Or yeah, so The odds aren't as bad as they look on Bet as you might first think when looking on Betfair, but still, I wouldn't take that bet. Yeah, I'll quickly show my setup. So I pretty much have the default config set. Like when you first create an account and we recommend the default configs, those are the ones I have set. I just changed a few things. So for example, if I look at my soccer configuration, I whacked up my min drop percentage to 10% because I'm getting a lot of alerts right now. So 7% was just sending me too many. It was a bit overwhelming. And then I lowered my limit range to 50. So I think the default was 100. I just lowered it to 50 because I'm a little bit aggressive like that. I like to bet on the lower limit niche stuff. I don't really mind. And then I whacked my odd range up to 1 to 4. So that's probably why you're seeing a difference if you have the defaults set up. And then I did pretty similar things to my basketball as well. Just changed like the limit range, the min drop, and the odds range. But they're nothing special. They're pretty standard. You don't need to do anything particularly special with your configurations. Yeah, not getting any value there. So I just move on to the next one. I'm definitely very rusty. I used to be a lot quicker at this, so just need to get back into the habit of it. Okay, so here, right, look at the name on Pinnacle. Bregenz handball versus HCBT Fouche, right? Look at the away team name on Midnight, BT Fouche Auto Pitchler. But if you look at the time that the match starts, 7:20, 7:20, you look at the league, Austria HLA, so Austria Handball League, Liga, then you can match up those events. So initially it kind of looks like that's an alert for a different event, different handball match. But if you just like look at the competition name and when it starts, then you can see that actually it's the same one. They don't have any spreads here, so let's just look to see if there's any value on the money line. So 2.27, 2.3, 1.787, 1.8, but this is a two-way market, right? I just noticed this is a two-way and this is three-way. So this is just a different market to this, and you don't want to be comparing the odds. What we can do is see if they have Betfair has this market. So no, I'm going to assume not. That account is suspended. Okay, so with that alert there, so a few things, right? So Veltex Shizuoka versus Rising Fukuoka, right? So this is Japan B2 League basketball. So Japan B2 League, and then I was looking at when it started. So Friday the 3rd of October, 11:05. Right, today, 3rd of October, 11:05. So I can see that this is the right event I'm looking at. The issue was I was alerted for the under 146.5 market, but midnight don't have that total points market. So I need to look at the alternative lines on pod to see if there's value on any of the lines that midnight do offer. So I just clicked into the alert and I clicked on the blue magnifying glass here, scrolled down to the under 147.5, and I saw odds of 1.91. They're actually a bit lower when I saw them. Whereas on midnight, we have odds of, look, they 1.95. So that's value there. So I placed that bet and then logged it. So you do have to look at the alternative lines that your recreational book offer sometimes to find the value, because you're not always going to get alerted for a spread or a total that your recreational book offers. You have to actually go and find that line on pod. So no value there. The away team 2.5, 2.3, sorry. I'm getting 1.9. Really, the name of the game is volume. So you see me placing quite a few kind of like low EV bets. Like the last bet I placed, I think had like 1.7% EV or something. And some people might think, that's too low to place the bet. But just from experience and from speaking to lots of successful users and looking at a lot of data, my opinion is just be very aggressive. Anything with positive EV, place it. That's my approach anyway. It doesn't look like they have this particular event. This is in the Bulgaria second league. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So I would be using Bet365 or like Sky Bet, but I'm limited on those bookies, unfortunately. I'm limited on a lot of UK bookies, so I'm kind of limited um, when it comes to that. If I was using Bet365, I would be finding a lot of value, like 24/7. It'd be ridiculous. Thoughts on staking in terms of trying to delay slash avoid limitations. So I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they said what they noticed is whenever they stake above 3 digits, so like over 100 quid or dollars, whatever it is, that's when the limitations come quick. So potentially, if you're at that scale, think about splitting your stakes over multiple bookies. But other than that, like definitely round up your stakes. Don't be, placing 20.27 pounds or dollars or euros, whatever it is, because that, you look like an arbitrager, or you look like you're using like a quarter Kelly or a half Kelly or something like that. So it kind of flags you pretty quick if you do that. But 1%, 1.5%, 2% of your bankroll on each bet, I think is sensible and fine. Just like depending on your variance tolerance, how much variance you can stomach, decide on one of those. I wouldn't recommend Kelly, to be fair, when using pod, just because it takes too much time to calculate. Some people can do it in their head, which is crazy. That's not me. So I'm not gonna in my opinion, waste my time going to a Kelly calculator online and calculating my stake like that. I'm just gonna stick to like 2% of bankroll and place the bet quick. I mean, you guys can see, I'm so rusty, I'm so slow. If I had to add a step and go over and use a Kelly calculator, it'd be game over. I wouldn't be placing any bets. Trying to find a balance between staking enough to make it worth my time, also trying to keep my outs active. Yeah, I understand. That's fair enough. Do you cash out your picks? Would be a good strategy for this. What would be a good strategy for this? That's a very good question and something I thought about quite a lot. My opinion on cashing out is don't bother unless it's like really obvious and easy. So, for example, if you place a bet at 10% EV and the odds change and your bet has now minus 20% EV and you're still getting 100% cash out offer and you see that on your book, then yeah, that's really easy and obvious. Just cash it out. But don't spend time kind of calculating all of your bets, like the whether the cash out offer is kind of like the optimal move based on where the current EV is at, where your EV is at currently for the bet. Because in my mind, it's an opportunity cost thing, right? Just spend your time placing more bets. Don't try and improve your yield by like 0.1%. Just try and improve your turnover by focusing on placing more bets. I think in the long term, you're going to make more money doing that. That's my opinion anyway. Also, some people talk about if you're very good with cash outs, then books are going to limit you quicker. Haven't really seen any like strong evidence that that's true necessarily, but kind of makes sense. So I keep getting alerted for this event, but I don't actually have it on my book, so I'm just going to mute it. Why did I put Koken for low value? So let's check that bet. Don't worry, this is my bet tracker. So I'm 126 bets in, losing money, negative yield. That's okay. If I'm negative after 2,000 bets, then that's pretty concerning. So Koken's, why did I put low value? So yeah, I mean, the EV 1.84% is not huge, but I don't know if you're in the stream earlier, but what I said is I pretty much bet anything that has positive EV. um, compared to obviously Pinnacle's no vig price. So I'm not really fussed about kind of how big the EV is. Obviously, if it's like a $50 limit market and the VIG's really high and the EV is like 0.2%, I'm not placing that bet. But if I'm getting above like 0.5%, I'm placing that bet. And that's just based on speaking to a lot of successful users and looking at a lot of data from the bet tracker. Because obviously we added the bet tracker back in November 2024. So we started collecting a lot of data from our users so we can analyze that data to look at whether the lower limit stuff and betting on low EV stuff is actually profitable. And looking at that data, my advice would be to pretty much bet on anything except for the kind of like the really thin EV on low limit stuff. Okay, so we're at Hungary. Nemzeti doesn't look like we have this either. This isn't the best book to be betting on, to be honest. I wish I had a Bet365 account. Yeah, and this one came through while I was talking, so it's a bit too old. Don't have that either. And then it's just a patience game, really. Just got to wait for the alerts to come through and try to get some bets off. Again, don't have that. So how to deal with this situation? What I saw yesterday a couple of times where I take positive EV bet with alert, and then right away my bet goes into negative. That's a very good question. I actually wrote an article about this that I can probably link in the chat. But in short, don't worry. Like a certain percentage of your bets will go negative EV after you place the bet. and a certain percent won't have positive closing line value. But if about 70-75% of your bets do have positive closing line value, then you'll do fine in the long term. Just see if I can get a bet off here. Unfortunately not. Yeah, no value there. So yeah, like I said, don't worry about those situations too much. It's kind of just like par for the course. What do you think about watching the opening odds to find value instead of the closing ones? I just look at closing line. I don't look at the opening odds at all. But I know some people give more weight to the opening odds than I do. So I wouldn't kind of argue with them too hard on that. Like if you want to look at opening odds as kind of like one of the indicators of whether you have value or not, then fair enough. Kind of like the interesting thing there is it's Pinnacle's opinion before like sharp money has had a chance to, or money has had a chance to kind of influence that opinion. So from that perspective, it's kind of interesting, but you don't have kind of like the wisdom of the crowd effect that you see with the closing line. That's why the closing line is so sharp, because Pinnacle have had the opportunity to adjust the line based on a lot of like syndicate and just sharp action in general. Yeah, I keep the stake standard. 2% of bankroll. But if you're not someone who can deal with variance very well, which is fair enough, then 1.5%. Again, no value. 1.95 on midnight. The over 2.5, 1.981 on Pinnacle. This is the reality. Okay, what do you guys think? Is that the correct event? So Malaysia Liga A1 on Pinnacle, Malaysia Liga M3, right? So that looks wrong. But look at the start times, 9:45 today, and it's the under 23. This is the second team here. So I know that the second team and under 23 are often just the same. So it's just a different way of putting it. So I think that's the same event. Slim chance I'm wrong and I've just placed a terrible bet, but I think I'm right. And let me log that quick. See if it's still value. So under 2.5, right? What am I doing wrong? Under 3.5. There we go. I'm wearing contact lenses as well, and I really can't see jack shite. It doesn't help. Okay, I don't have that one by the looks of it. Bad bet. I misread that. The rust is real, my people. The rust is real. Don't have that. Let's see if. Okay, so let's cash that out. I know I just said don't go cashing out your bets, but when it's really obvious, when you can like see that the EV was negative, and you have a full cash out, then if it's quick and easy, you don't have many alerts coming through, then you might as well do it. And then you can just edit the bet in your bet tracker and select the result, cash out, profit 0, update bet. So there, cashed out that. Yeah, what's the difference from Bet Burger? So I would say kind of one, you're not limited by Bet Burger's like coverage. So you know how Bet Burger would have deep links going right to the bet. That kind of means once you get limited on those books that Bet Burger support, then you can't actually kind of be empowered to go find bets yourself. Whereas with this alert feed, you should be able to, in theory, find bets pretty much at any bookmaker, any sports book. So that's one thing. And then kind of like the underlying strategy is slightly different. So we're kind of exclusively looking for opportunities that come from drops. Whereas from my understanding, they're looking at just opportunities where the odds are different. And that could be for any number of reasons. It could just be a simple disagreement between the sports books. So it's slightly different in that sense. But I think they have a good service as well. Falco versus Wolves. Yeah, no value there. Pretty bad odds on midnight, 3.25. No big price, 3.7. This would be a very good one. Surely they have the under 21. No way. It's pretty bad coverage midnight. I'm not going to try and spell that. I think next stream I'll open up some new bookie accounts at some better bookmakers, and we should be able to find way more bets because midnight's coverage and just odds in general are pretty bad. But I've been limited by most of the good UK books, unfortunately. Okay, what am I looking at here? Czech Republic. No, that's a different event. Yeah, I might end the stream now and then I'll be back live tomorrow at the same time. But what I'll do is I'll get some better bookie accounts so we can actually find like a good number of value bets. I mean, we found some today. At midnight definitely isn't like a terrible book. You can use it, but it's not ideal. Again, we don't have that. No. Okay, yeah, so I'll end it now, but thanks for joining. And like same time tomorrow, I'll be back, have some better accounts and we can get back to the grind. But I appreciate everyone jumping on the stream and thanks for the questions. What I'll do is I'll drop a discount link in the chat quickly, just in case anyone wants to subscribe who isn't already subscribed. So, sorry, still getting used to all of this. Any books to look at that aren't traditional UK books, I am limited at most of them to. Yes. So let me get you a link. Okay, so I think this is the right link. There are lots of white label bookies in the UK, so they use all the same odds providers, and they just whack their brand on top. Their odds are pretty bad, but they're soft. They don't they're bad as in they have lots of vig, but they're slow to react. So you can definitely find value on them, and it's worth just going down that list that I sent you. Lots of them are just casinos because they're all the licensed gambling businesses in the UK online. So lots of them are just casinos, but lots of them have sportsbook offerings. Like I know, for example, this is one I used to use back in the day. It's pretty good, worth checking out. So you mean if I find higher odds than Pinnacle in any bookie is value? Well, it depends like what sport you're looking at, what market you're looking at. But for the sports we cover, every sport is profitable for our users except for American football, and they're using Pinnacle as the benchmark. So from like that data, the answer is yes, with the caveat maybe not American football, but that's fine. American football doesn't make up much volume for our users anyway, because there's just not that many markets. There's only the NFL, XFL, and the soft bookies are really quick to react. So, like, let me just show you. I have my American football alert configuration turned off, so I don't bet American football using Pod. And it's worth kind of saying we're not just simply comparing Pinnacle's odds to other sports books and finding value that way. We're specifically waiting for a drop in odds to occur. So like something to happen, like a player gets removed from the team sheet and the odds drop, and then that creates an opportunity, right? So we're not just looking for opportunities where the odds are better on another book. So I think this approach is slightly like better than just simply comparing odds, because the difference isn't like just a disagreement between bookmakers. It's simply one book has information which has shifted their odds. Pinnacle has information, new information, and another book just hasn't adjusted to that information entering the market yet. So that's why I think it's better than just looking for differences. But yeah, good question. And definitely, like I think for cricket, Betfair Exchange, like that's the sharp price. So you wouldn't just like blindly trust Pinnacle for every sport and every market. But like I said, looking at the data, they're definitely like this strategy using Pinnacle as the benchmark and waiting for drops to happen works for the sports that we cover, except probably American football. Although the sample size is very small because there aren't many bets in American football using Pod. But yeah, thanks for jumping on, guys. I'm going to end it now and back same time tomorrow. See ya.